right where you are. To do that, we go back to January the 15th, 1929. That's when Michael and Alberta King had their little baby boy. He wasn't their first child, but he was the first son. Now, Daddy King was so proud to have his first baby boy. He said, I'm going to name my son after me, Michael King Jr. And that's exactly what he did. He named him right after himself. Now, Alberta King was, oh my, she played in the church choir, such a loving, dear woman. Well, Daddy King was a minister, you see, and he traveled quite a bit. And one time he traveled overseas and he heard about a Protestant reformist by the name of Martin Luther. Because he was so inspired by Martin Luther, he said, you know what? I'm going to change my name to Martin Luther. And from now on, he said, I want you to call my son Martin Luther King Jr. But did you know that from his birth till his death, his name was never legally changed from Michael to Martin? Now, they lived in Georgia. Matter of fact, they lived in a big house, 501 Auburn Avenue. That's the house that they lived in. His grandmother's house, you see. And he had a special relationship with his grandmother. Some of you had relationships with your grandmother. Your grandmother was important to you, right? That's the way it was for young Martin. He was so passionate about his feelings about the family and everything. And so he was just a rambunctious young kid playing and doing all things that children like to do. And there was a parade that was going on in town, and young Martin wanted to go to the parade. They told him don't go, but he went anyway to the parade. And while he was going at the parade, his grandmother died. Martin came back and he went to that house and went upstairs to the second floor after he heard about what happened. And somehow, because he was so empathetic, even as a young child, somehow he felt maybe this had something to do with him. And they say he jumped out of the window and tried to kill himself at such a young age, so empathetic about what was going on and what was happening in his life. Well, he ended up being okay, but that's how connected he was to other people, even at that young age. And so Daddy King, being the strong man that he was, said, Martin, I want you to pay attention in school now. You do what you're supposed to do. You pay attention and you study your work. And Martin was still playing and chasing girls and doing those kind of things. He skipped the 9th grade because academically he was still doing pretty good. And actually, not only did he skip the 9th grade, did you know he also skipped the 12th grade? But have you wondered, was it because he was so academically smart that he skipped the 12th grade? What happened? Allow yourself to be present during that time. World War II was going on, and they were drafting young men directly into the war as soon as they turned 18. Now, the local college that was in town in Atlanta, which was Morehouse College, some of you know about that name, right? They said, we're starting to lose our students. What could we possibly do? They created a program that would bring young people directly from high school right into college. And so King and his family found out about that program. He qualified to get in the program, and they said, if you keep your grades up, you won't get drafted. So King wasn't by himself when he skipped and went into college. He was actually with a group of other people who became a part of that program. Now, I mentioned he went to that college, Morehouse College, and it was at the age of 15 that we arrived here at Morehouse College. You know what it's like when you get away from home and you finally feel that you don't have to hear some of the same messages you heard while you were at home? Well, when he got to college, right there in town, he ended up being mentored and hearing some of the same things he heard at home. As a matter of fact, he heard that you need to probably be a minister like your dad. The man he heard it from, his name was Benjamin Elijah Mays. Benjamin Elijah Mays, who happened to be a Baptist minister himself and the president of the college. But he was a strong man, and he had a lot of very positive, powerful words that he shared. One of the things he was known for telling Martin was this: if you do not act on what you believe, it's not a belief at all, it's just an opinion. He said something like this: I only have a minute, only 60 seconds in it. Forced upon me, can't refuse it. I didn't seek it. I didn't choose it. But it is up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give account if I abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but all eternity is wrapped up in it. That's the kind of thing that mentored young Martin as he was trying to find his way and see who he wanted to become. So he decided that that's a good idea. Yes, maybe I will go ahead to college and get my divinity degree, but I can't get it here at Morehouse. So let's travel to Pennsylvania, Crozier Seminary that was in Pennsylvania, and that's where he went. Imagine this young boy, now quite a ways away from home, getting his degree in divinity, still chasing girls. They say that he found him a little white girlfriend, and he liked her quite a bit, but there was so much tension around that time he had to break the relationship off. They say that was kind of traumatizing for him at the time. So he started focusing even more on his work and in school and trying to do a good job while he was in school. He focused on that, and a man by the name of Mordecai came to Crozier Seminary and started talking to the students about another man who lived in India. And they called this man the Great One. And in their language, that word was the Mahatma. He started talking to them about Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and that he was using something like nonviolence to change and stop armies that were trying to overtake the people in that country. Martin started kind of leaning into this concept, this idea, and started thinking maybe I can use nonviolence, but he learned that nonviolence is not for cowards who are just afraid to step up. You have to have the spirit of a warrior, but just restraining yourself and using nonviolence as a strategy. That's what he learned it was. And he said, I can do that. I can follow this path. And he started following the path of nonviolence. The same year that he entered into Crozier Seminary, the man that he was following, the Mahatma, the great one, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, he had his great nieces with him as he was on his way to prayer, and a man who did not agree with their beliefs shot and killed Gandhi, and he died on the steps on his way to prayer in front of his great nieces. They say he died within about 30 minutes. Now the question that we have to ask ourselves is, if you were following the path of someone who had a philosophy that people hated so much that they killed him, would you still follow him? What would you have done if you found that out? Or would you say, oh, no, I can't do this if they don't like it that much? What would you have done? We understand now that King had courage. And no matter what was happening, no matter what he was experiencing, no matter what could happen, young King, even at that young age, said, you know what, I'm going to walk this walk no matter what happens, I'm going to walk this walk. And he got his degree of divinity from Crozier. But he was all into education now. Oh, he wanted to be educated. He wanted to get his PhD. Can't get that at Crozier. So he had to go to Boston University. So we travel and we find ourselves arriving at Boston University. Now, that's a long way from home. Daddy King was kind of a controlling kind of guy. And he said, now my boys are quite a ways from home. I need to make sure he's going to be all right. So Daddy King had a friend in Boston, hands on young Martin to help direct his step in his movement.